personal connection to one of the parties that could affect neutrality. When should this conflict of interest be disclosed? So, nalaman daw ng mediator na meron palang personal connection. So, nagkaroon ng conflict of interest doon sa parties in dispute. So, kailan daw dapat ma-disclose o masabi yung conflict of interest? Is it Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, or Delta? Okay. So, sabi sa Alpha, only if the parties request information on the mediator's background. So, sa STEM natin or sa question, hindi naman siya tungkol sa ano eh, sa qualification, hindi siya tungkol sa background. Ang focus natin is conflict of interest. So, hindi Alpha. Bravo, at the conclusion of the mediation process, pag tapos na, tsaka mo disclose na, okay, o sige, ano na kayo, meron na kayo memorandum of agreement, nalaman ko nung nakaraang buwan na meron palang conflict of interest. O, pero yan mo na, sige, tuloy nyo na lang yan ang pagkasunduan ninyo. Charlie, when the mediation agreement is being finalized, or Delta, as soon as the mediator becomes aware of the conflict. So, the best and correct answer here is Delta, as soon as the mediator becomes aware of the conflict. Okay? So, dalawa kasi yan eh, before tsaka during. So, if before mag-start yung mediation, nalaman mo na merong conflict of interest, as soon as possible, dapat ma-disclose na yun. Pero what if naman, kagaya niyan, during the time na ongoing yung mediation, yun ang magandang gawin. So, dito dapat, as soon as the mediator becomes aware of the conflict, hindi kinabukasan, hindi sa isang araw, hindi kung kailan convenient, kung dapat as soon as possible. Kasi of course, may mga caucus na nangyayari, di ba, may mga separate meetings, may mga information na nadi-disclose, padagdag na padagdag. So, ano na yun, mako-compromise yung confidentiality. So, dapat as soon as possible na within that range or day, ma-disclose yung na-discover na conflict of interest. Second, two individuals from different barangays are disputing a land boundary issue. Where should the mediation be conducted? Is it A, in the barangay where the complainant resides? Letter B, in any barangay chosen by mutual agreement? Letter C, in the barangay where the land is located? Or letter D, in the barangay where the respondent works? So, balikan natin lagi yung STEM. Sa STEM, ano ang sabi dyan? Boundary issue ng land, ng lupa. So, paano ang gagawin dyan? Split man. Okay, so majority are answering Charlie. Okay, so that is correct. In the barangay where the land is located. So there will be instance naman what if yung barangay nahati. Yung land is nahahati sa dalawang barangay. So which barangay will be the presiding venue saan siya dapat i-entertain. So, kung halimbawa may mas malaking portion, for example, yung left side, mas malaking portion na yung sakop ng barangay na yun. So, doon dapat i-undergo yung dispute resolution. And what if equally divided? So, both barangay, pwede pong pangyarihan ng mediation or ng settlement, pero bawal silang tumanggi. Halimbawa, napili is ang magkatabi, for example, is Bitas, tsaka Bantog Norte. Ang napili is Bitas. O hindi po yun pwedeng tanggihan kasi meron pa rin naman talaga silang jurisdiction doon in the first place sa may lupa na in dispute. Okay, next, number 3. Mediator is requested to handle a dispute and one party asks about the mediator's professional background. What is the mediator's obligation? A, only provide qualifications if requested. B, refuse to disclose qualifications. C, thank you. C, only disclose qualifications to the court. Or letter D, ensure to attain a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
May mga kaluluwa na naman po hindi matahimik dito sa opisina kaya may mga nararamdaman po kayong kakaiba. Ano sagot dito sa number 3? Okay, for number 3, that is alpha. Only provide qualifications if requested kasi hindi naman siyang required i-present, no? So, pag request ng hindi naman siya required na i-present, pero tatandaan natin, if requested ng both parties, pwede natin siyang i-provide or pwede natin siyang i-present. Pero tatandaan din natin na according to the law, there is no required qualification. You may have certifications, you may undergo trainings, pero it is upon the discretion of the mediator. Pero hindi nire-require ng batas na bago ka maging mediator is dapat ganap ka o may pinagdaanan kang course or specific program, specific course. Kasi tinitingnan pa rin doon is yung manner o yung strategy mo on how you handle the mediation, settlement, the dispute resolution. Okay, number 4. A mediator facilitates a case involving workplace conflict. Where should the mediation be conducted? A, in the complainant's place of residence. B, in nearest regional court in the workplace. C, in the barangay where the workplace is located. Or D, in the police station with jurisdiction over the place. Ayan, pagka workplace dispute na po or kailangan ng settlement kapag nagkaroon ng dispute within the employees workplace, yan po ay Charlie in the barangay where the workplace is located. So kahit sabihin po natin hindi naman po taga doon yung mga mag-aaway, hindi naman po doon hindi naman po parehas yung barangay nila. Kahit na po, ang kinoconsider pa rin natin is saan ba nakabilang na barangay yung workplace mo. So, halimbawa, ako tsaka si Sir Carl, nagsumo kami, nagsakalan kami, nagdaganan kami. So, syempre, that is a dispute. Saan ba asikasuhin yun? Taga Burgos siya, Burgos Extension, taga Bantog Norte ako. Saan ba nakalukit ang Pinma Arroyo? Subitas. So, Subitas po ang mag-handle nun. Okay, next. Which condition is essential for a mediated settlement agreement to have a legal effect? So, paano natin masasabing legal na yung Paano natin masasabing legal na yung isang settlement, yung agreement between the two parties? Excuse me. Okay, majority are answering bravo, and that is the correct answer. It must be written, signed by both parties, and certified. No? Certified by whom? Of course, by the mediator. So, ma'am, kailangan ba may signature ng lawyer or ng attorney para masabi natin na talagang legal siya? Actually po, hindi. No? Pero pwede naman siyang i-sign kung may mga nag-assist o may mga nag-back up na mga lawyer throughout the process na kung saan, di ba sabi nga natin, kailangan mag-consult sa lawyer to ensure na hindi na-compromise yung karapatan ng isang tao. Okay, next. Number 6, a bomb threat is reported in a shopping mall and an unattended package is found in a crowded area. What should be the first action taken by security personnel? O na-identify, may na-locate na mayroong bomb threat and they were just about to identify if yung na-iwan na package is really a bomb. Ano ang dapat na gawin ng security personnel? Attempt to disarm the device. Ma'am, security naman ako, kaya ko yan. Move the package to a less crowded kasi nga sabi sa system natin, crowded. Evacuate the area and alert the bomb squad. Open the package carefully to check its content. Baka naman pala hindi naman kasi bomba. Okay, for number 6, that is Charlie. Evacuate the area and alert the bomb squad. Of course, kahit sabihin natin na hindi naman siya ganun ka suspicious yung package, anything, di ba sabi natin, once there is a bomb threat, we still consider anything as if it is a real threat, as if it is a real situation talaga. And bakit kailangan i-evacuate? Kahit sabihin pa natin crowded yan. So, dapat yung mga tao na yun, yung mga civilian na nandun, as long as possible, ma-evacuate na to ensure na totoo man o hindi yung bomba, at least evacuated na sila. And alert the bomb squad. Why? Kasi hindi naman lahat ng security personnel ay well knowledgeable when it comes to disarming a bomb. Diba? Meron pa rin talagang expert o may profession specifically to disarm the bomb. Okay, number 7. The security team regularly reviews all possible threats and threat groups to anticipate emergencies. This activity best illustrates which stage. So, nandun na tayo sa may crisis management. Is it prediction, preparation, prevention, or performance? Ayan. So, that is prediction. Bakit naging prediction? Kasi sabi nga natin dito, regularly review. So, nandun pa lang tayo sa part na kung saan we are assessing or we are assuming ano yung mga possible threats, mga possible problems na pwedeng ma-encounter. Ano ba yung susunod sa prediction? The preparation. So, dito ginagawa yung mga planning, dito ginagawa yung mga stockpiling ng mga tawag dito, ng mga equipment. Okay, how about sa may prevention? Pagdating naman sa may prevention, ang ginagawa natin dito is nag-a-apply tayo ng mga active and passive security measures. And when it comes to performance, of course, it is the actual time, okay, the actual scenario na kung saan meron nang nangyayaring disaster or may nangyayaring crisis. Okay, next. Which stage aims to bring the affected community back to normalcy after a disaster occurred? Teka, parang nagigera na po dito. Saglit, saglit. Papa-English kayo? Ayan, ayan. Medyo sarag. Ay, masandalo da pa. Number 8. Which stage aims to bring the affected community back to normalcy after disaster has occurred? Kanina pinag-uusapan natin yung crisis, ngayon naman disaster. So, ang goal natin dito is maibalik, maisaayos na yung community after maranasan yung disaster. So, that is recovery, Delta. Okay, correct? How about number 9? What is the minimum number of members that can compose a lupong tagapamayapa? Ay, bakit ang dami-daming daliri at iba't ibang emoji? Ang tinatanong mga kapatid, yan yung sinasabi ko, namnamin nyo muna yung tanong. Minimum number, pinakaunti na pwedeng dami ng lupong tagapamayapa. Kasi may minimum and maximum number yan. Pag minimum ang pinag-uusapan natin, that is 10 members. Ano ang maximum? Anong letter yung maximum? Anong letter? Ayun. Minimum of 10 members, maximum of 20 members, and then si barangay chairman, he will also serve as the chairman of the lupon as well as the secretary. Okay, how many days does punong barangay have to appoint members after considering oppositions and recommendations? Parang ang dami na namang iba-ibang emoji. Kompleto, oh. Parang di tayo nagtanghalian. Okay lang yan, okay lang yan. Itama natin dito. Baka mamaya maisagot natin sa actual. Okay, so number 10, sabi natin, after how many days, ilang araw, araw saan, araw para saan? When the punong barangay have to appoint members after considering the oppositions and recommendation. That will be 10 days. 10 days na lang. Yung sumasagot po ng mga 15 days, okay, yung Charlie, 15 days po yung initial upon election. Pagkaupo niya sa pwesto, yung ating barangay chairman, barangay captain, meron siyang 15 days to select, appoint the lupong taga-pamayapa. And then after ng 15 days na yon, merong allowance na 10 days para sa opposition, no? para ma-check kung meron bang kokontra, meron bang hindi po pwede, o meron bang dapat palitan. At tandaan po natin, yun ay dapat ay voluntarily or willingly. Hindi pwedeng, para mapuno ko yung 10, lalagay kita dito kasi they have rules to uh, do. Ano? May mga dapat silang gampanan. Okay, next, wala na pala. Topics covered kasi mas onti lang yung sa may dispute eh. Mas madami talaga research, human behavior. Pero although konti yung topic, maraming question pagdating sa examination. Pero dito lang din iikot. Okay, dispute, alternative dispute resolution, negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and reconciliation. We also have the salient provisions of RA 9285 and RA 7160. Some operational procedures, the critical incident, especially the crisis management, yung ating 4Ps, and then the disaster management. Okay, let's begin with dispute. So sabi natin, when we say dispute, dispute is an argument or disagreement between people or group. So, ang involved dito ay two person or more. Kasi hindi pa pwedeng isa lang. Pagka isa lang ang may kalaban, sarili mo lang. Hindi po dispute yun. Inner or self-conflict po yun. No? Pero pag dispute, dapat may dalawang tao o magkaibang grupo ng tao na kung saan magkaiba sila ng perspective or opinion. Kaya nagkakaroon yun ng disagreement. Next, how about when we say resolution? So, resolution, first things first, it is the act of resolving or determining upon a course of action, method, or procedure on how to resolve the dispute. Aside from that, a resolution is also the document whereas doon naka-indicate ngayon na ano ba yung agreement, ano ba yung gustong ma-attain, ano ba yung solution na nakikita ng both parties. So, hindi lang siya basta nag-end sa agreement. It must be acted upon. Sino ang dapat mag-act upon those conditions or solutions na pinag-agrihan ng dalawang partido? Sila mismo, no? Both parties must participate on how are they going to ensure na maipuput into action yung kanila na pagkasunduan. Hindi pwedeng sa papel lang. Next, dispute resolution. When we say dispute resolution, or it is also called as the dispute settlement, the process of resolving disputes between parties. So, originally, kapag dispute resolution ang pinag-uusapan natin, we have the traditional way or method of resolving that, and that is what we call as the litigation, di ba? The court processes or the court proceedings. Pero, sa dispute resolution, hindi naman laging dispute lang eh. Minsan, it can be conflict also. Pero ano ba pinagkaiba ng conflict sa dispute? Pag sinabi natin dispute, heated argument, disagreement, different perspective or opinion, beliefs, kaya nagkakaroon ng pag-aaway, pagtatalo. Pero when we say conflict, it is more in a deeper manner or perspective. Kasi mas matagal na siya, mas malalim, mas patong-patong na ngayon yung reason kung bakit nagkaroon ng hindi pagkakaintindihan. Okay, tatanda natin when we say conflict, it is more deep-rooted compared to dispute. So pagdating sa conflict, marami ng mga bagay na kinukonsider at pinagmumulan ng pagtatalo. Pero pagka-dispute, most likely it focus only on one issue. Okay, next, alternative dispute resolution. So, alternative dispute resolution, ito yung panghalili o kapalit maliban doon sa may traditional court processes. Kasi sa traditional court processes, ito yung inside the court, di ba? Yung merong pang trial na ginagawa, merong mga may defense, merong prosecution. Pero dito sa may alternative dispute resolution, ang usually involved is the two parties, always involved ang two parties. And pag hindi kinaya ng negotiation, it will proceed to mediation or arbitration na kinakailangan meron na tayong third party which is neutral ang kanyang stand doon sa may issue. Okay. First type of ADR, we have here the negotiation. So pag sinabi natin negotiation, sino lang ba ang involved dito? It only limits to the two parties in dispute. So sila muna ang dalawa ang gagawa ng paraan o pag-uusap kung paano nila sa palagay nakikita maaayos yung problema. no? Pero there is a rule na before negotiation, it is better for them to consult muna sa lawyer for them to be aware sa kanilang mga karapatan para hindi naman sila ma-take advantage of, hindi sila ma-scam, 'di ba? Hindi sila talo dun sa process na gagawin nilang negotiation. Mamaya bulagin lang sila sa paunang mga salita pero later or sooner mas lalo pala silang magsa-suffer. Pero optional naman siya, pero advisable na sana both parties will be able to consult a lawyer. Kasi it will be in their own expense. So, ibig sabihin po, gastos po nila yon. Next. Okay, when we say mediation naman, pag hindi umubra ang negotiation, mag-proceed naman po with mediation. Dito meron na po tayong neutral third party na kung saan ang role naman, tinatawag po natin siyang mediator, ang role niya is to mediate. Pag sinabi mediate, pumagitna at sa pagpapagitna niya na yon, ang role niya is to ensure na merong maayos na pag-uusap, maayos na flow ng information, scheduling between the two parties. So, ang isa sa pinaka prohibited na dapat wag gawin ng isang mediator is to suggest or recommend a resolution for the dispute. Kasi nandun siya to act as someone like secretary, no? Taga-schedule, taga-summarize ng mga information, taga-ensure that both parties are heard, and taga-collect or compile ng mga statement from both parties. Pero hindi pa pwede na, although kahit sabihin po natin na very obvious on the end of the mediator kung ano dapat mangyari, hindi pwedeng isuggest yun directly ng mediator. Okay, ano pa? Ang mediation compared to litigation, it happens in a private setup. So, isa siya sa mga advantages niya na meron talaga siyang confidentiality. And then, to ensure na talagang there is a settlement agreement or nagkasundo na talaga yung dalawang partido, they must secure a MOA or the Memorandum of Agreement na kung saan doon naka-indicate yung kanilang mga terms and conditions na napagkasunduan on how they see na nagbe-best fit na ayusin nila yung kanilang dispute.
For example,
Mag-example ka na.
example,
Next. Advantages of mediation. Tuloy mo nga ilan, huwag ka na SSP. Okay, advantages of mediation. Okay, sa mediation, bakit natin siya inire-refer or pinopromote sa mga parties in dispute? First is, parties have complete control over the settlement. Not unlike sa may litigation na kung saan it is very firm or strict na kung ano yung nakasaad sa batas, yun dapat ang mangyayari or yun ang susundin. And then, pangalawa, less stress as compared to litigation and arbitration. Why? The setup is very flexible. So, si mediator ang naka-assign or naka-designate na mag-decide or mag-tugma whether available ba pareho yung parties in dispute or kung kailangan magkaroon ng mga adjustment para mag-fit yung schedule. So, at least meron naka-support doon sa dalawang party na i-conduct yung kanilang mga caucus. Okay, next, pangatlo po, the relationship between the parties isn't overly damaged kasi hindi aggressive yung approach, no? Para siyang meeting-like setup na kung saan they will be given, both of the parties will be given the opportunity to share their statements. And also, mediation proceedings are confidential. Eh ma'am, what if may involved na lawyer kasi nga they wanted to be assisted, they wanted to be they wanted to consult and ensure na well guided sila all throughout the process of mediation. Meron pong obligation ng lawyer sa confidentiality. Kasi nga, isa 'yun sa mga reason kung bakit natin pinopromote, ba't gusto natin ADR na lang ang mga tao para din sa confidentiality and to reserve the relationship between the two parties. Eh ma'am, paano pagka yung lawyer is, for example, na-breach niya yung confidentiality, siya pa yung naging reason kung bakit nag-leak yung mga information, kung bakit naging known sa public. O since siya ay isang profession niya yung involved doon, no? Role niya na sana isa siya sa mga nag-ensure ng confidentiality at yun ay na-breach. Pag sinabi natin na-breach, hindi natupad, no, na compromise, he will be liable sa IBP or yung tinatawag nating Integrated Bar of the Philippines. So, napakahalaga po, no, hindi lang sa lawyer actually, pati sa doctor, yung patient-doctor confidentiality. Actually, kahit nga sa academy, sa teacher, di ba? Pag may mga kinukuhang information ng school from the student, meron dong Data Privacy Act because those information, those statements are sensitive in nature. Kaya siya tinawag na, kaya siya na-classify as confidential. And then, sabi rin natin, the process resolves the dispute quickly. So, yun ang goal, yun ang ultimate goal na hindi man nagagawa ang speedy trial when it comes to court litigation or sa may mga court proceeding, at least man lang sana sa ADR, mai-practice yung quick manner ng pag-resolve ng problem para hindi rin natatambakan ng mga case na dapat i-handle yung mga nasa barangay justice system. Okay, next, how about the disadvantages? Gusto magpapa-enlist ka? Punta ka kay Sir Jess. Wait, hintay mo na lang. Okay, for the disadvantages naman, ang unang disadvantage niya is since nakadepende yung desisyon sa discretion ng both parties, there is a tendency na walang maging solusyon or settlement at all. Kasi nga naman, bakit ba sila magkaaway in the first place? Because of their pride. 'Di ba? Hindi sila magkasundo, hindi magtugma yung gusto nilang mangyari. So, nagkokontra yung kanilang gustong mangyari. Pangalawa, it lacks the support of any judicial authority in its conduct. So, ang nandun lang para mag-support at mag-assist ay yung ating mediator. Pero, in legal manner or in legal perspective, wala. Kasi nga, as long as possible, hindi dapat nagiging involved ang court sa mga ADR na ginagawa outside the court. And then we also have the absence of formality. So since merong absence of formality, walang mga deadlines, schedules na sinusunod, ang tendency, imbis mapabilis, mapapabagal lalo kasi ano hindi naman obliged na totally mag-participate. Wala rin naman silang magiging sanction if ever kung hindi naman sila fully mag-participate. And then the last one is the truth of an issue may not be revealed. Kasi hindi na ang ano dito hindi na ang goal is to point fingers na kung sino pa ang magiging liable. Ang main goal ng mediation kasi under siya ng restorative justice is to ensure na magkakaroon ng reparation yung relationship ng dalawang parties in dispute. Okay, pagdating naman sa arbitration, there is a neutral third party na ang role naman niya ay mag-make ng decision na tinatawag nating award or arbitral award. Saan nakabase yung award na binibigay niya? Sa mga supporting or written evidence na kung sino syempre may pinakamagandang maipipresent na information or evidence, doon papabor ngayon yung magiging award ni arbitrator. So parang court-like ano pa rin siya set up why both parties will be given the chance to give their testament at the same time to submit their supporting evidence. When it comes to reconciliation naman, ito, ginagamit ang reconciliation most of the time for the cases of conflict. Kasi nga, ano ba po sinabing conflict? Deep-rooted problem or issues na kung saan hindi lang yan between 1 to 2 people. It is between the law enforcement agencies and community, minority versus majority. So nagkakaroon ngayon ng huge difference when it comes to their perceptions. At hindi madaling i-mend yung wound o yung problem na naging result ng pagkakaiba ng kanilang opinion. Okay, now let's talk about the salient provisions of Republic Act number 9285 and RA 7160. Section 2 muna tayo ng 9285. So dito po pinapaliwanag bakit ba merong ADR sa Pilipinas. So bakit siya ipinatupad? Kaya ang reason natin is to actively promote party autonomy in the resolution of dispute. So to give way and to allow the parties in dispute na on their end, on their own little way, paano ba nila naiisip na magandang solusyonan yung kanilang problema nang hindi na kailangan pang dalhin sa korte. And at the same time, another reason din is para ma-lessen naman yung laman ng ating mga court dockets kasi nga medyo puno na at the same time natatambakan na, bumabagal na ngayon yung flow ng pag-process sa mga court proceeding. Okay, next, Section 13, Mediators, Disclosure, and Conflict of Interest. So, isa to sa mga nirasyo natin kanina. Pag before pa lang, i-accept yung mediation at nalaman na niya na mayroong conflict of interest, as soon as possible, dapat ma-disclose na yan. At talagang kailangan mag-effort yung mediator to know, to identify if meron bang personal, financial, o kahit anong klase ng conflict of interest para dun pa lang maihinto na at makahanap na ng ibang mediator na pwedeng mag-take over ng kanilang case. Pero what if ang nangyari is after or during the time na merong mediation, tsaka mo nalaman na may conflict of interest, regardless, kailangan mo pa rin po yung i-disclose. Ma'am, it may result to, for example, tawag dito? Ma'am, what if yung mga information na nakuha ko, yung mga na-share na nila, mapapawalang bisa na yun, kumbaga mababaliwala na. Wala tayong magagawa kasi it will go back to zero, no? It will go back to the very beginning kasi nga, in the first place, baka may bahid siya ng conflict of interest. Baka late lang siyang na-inform or late lang siyang na-identify, pero it will be questionable na kasi. No? Okay, next. Ayan, when it comes to the qualification of the mediator, again, there is no required qualification. Pero if the parties requested na ma-present yung qualification, the mediator may present the qualification. Yung kanyang mga yung mga record ng mga na-handle na niyang dispute, kung meron man siyang certain programs or certifications na nag-undergo siya, pwede po yun. But 9285 does not require anyone, any mediator, to have a special or specific course or background. Na? At hindi po tuwing hahawakan ng dispute case or ng isang settlement agreement is present ka ng qualification. So, ang qualification, it will only be presented upon the request of the parties. How about when it comes to RA 7160? The Act providing for a local government code of 1991, Book 3, Local Government Units. We're going to focus sa Chapter 7, Katarungang Pambarangay. Okay, in Section 399, dito naka-indicate ano ba ang lupong taga mamayapa. So dito, first paragraph, naka-indicate gaano ba kadami dapat ang nilalaman ng lupong taga pamayapa. So the minimum number is 10 members up to 20 members, including the barangay or the punong barangay that will also serve as the chairman ng lupon, and the barangay secretary that will serve as the secretary of the lupon. Gaano katagal po silang magsaserve sa role nila na yon as part of the lupon? 3 years. Okay, ano naman ang qualification for them to be considered na, sige, pwede kang maging member ng lupon. Unang-una, actually hindi naman hindi siya mahigpit. Una, you must be living or residing and working in that barangay. So, ano man sa dalawa, nakatira ka sa barangay or yung pinagtatrabahuan mo ay sakop ng barangay na yon, pwede kang makonsider as lupon. Ano pa? Walang criminal record, nasa tamang edad, you have independence of mind. So, ang mga disqualifications lang naman, most likely is kapag hindi nag-fall down yung edad mo o yung mga, for example, kung may record ka ba, baka mamaya, gusto mo maging lupon na ikaw pala ang suki ng blatter dun sa barangay ninyo. So, it will not be allowed. So, dapat maganda pa rin yung reputation, someone na with good standing pa din sa barangay. Okay, paragraph C. Okay, sabi natin dito, the first 15 days from the start of his term, yun na po yung araw na dapat ah, makapag-appoint ng members of the Lupon si barangay chairman o si punong barangay. Okay, and we must ensure that those person na ma-appoint natin ay willingly nagagampan doon sa kanilang tungkulin as members of the Lupon. And then yung nasa question natin kanina, upon the opposition, if in case merong opposition, gano'ng katagal o ilang araw ang ibibigay para mapalitan or para ma-finalize yung listahan ng members ng Lupon. So, the barangay captain will only have 10 days thereafter. So after noon, so parang ika-25th day na yon, hindi na po hindi na po pwede pang mabago. Kailangan na yung ma-finalize. And pag yun po ay na-finalize na, it must be posted in the three conspicuous places in the barangay. Pag sinabi natin conspicuous place, ito yung mga lugar na madaling nakikita ng tao, puntahan ng tao. So visible siya na, ito pala yung mga pwedeng ma-appoint na or ina-appoint na as members of the lupon. So nagiging final ang appointment if it is in writing, signed by the punong barangay and attested by the barangay secretary. Okay, pag section 404 naman sa pangkat tagapagkasundo, we only have 3 members. At yung 3 members po na to, tandaan po natin, manggagaling po siya sa mga member ng lupong tagapamayapa. Kumbaga, para mas madali natin siyang matandaan, yung lupong tagapamayapa, isang section yan. Tapos sa kada section, pag nagpag-grouping si teacher, yun po yung pangkat tagapagkasundo. At sa bawat bangkad ng tagapagkasundo, ina-identify po doon sino ang member, sino ang secretary, sino ang chairman. Since 3 naman po kada pangkat. And then, what if ma'am? What if ma'am, hindi kami magkasundo kung sino yung mga magiging magkakasama sa pangkat? Kasi hindi magkakakilala, nagkakahiyaan. So, ang gagawin po natin, it will be by draw lots, bunutan po. Kung sino yung magkakasama sa isang grupo. Halimbawa, Monday group. O lahat ng mga concern, queries, settlement, on Monday, kayo yon o De La Cruz, Santos, and Reyes. O kayong tatlo, kayong magkakasama. Draw lots kasi hindi napagdesisyonan. And then, within those 3, sila ngayon ang mag-a-assign sa kanila sino sa kanila ang mag-stand as chairman, as secretary, and as member ng lupon. So, bakit sila 3? Para po merong taga-balanse. Kasi kung dalawa lang, baka sila mismo mag-dispute pa sila, mag-away pa sila. So, yung pangatlo, yun ang magiging tawag dito, siya yung magbe-break ng tiebreaker. Yun. Okay. Next, ano pa po? Venue. Sa venue naman po, okay, kung ang issue natin is about sa dalawang residente na nagre-reside sa same barangay, saan nila dadalhin yung kanilang settlement? Sa barangay na nakakasakop sa kanila. Paano naman pagka different barangay within the same city or municipality? Ang magiging choice po natin doon is kung saan yung barangay na unang nagreklamo. So, dalawa lang ang option. Sa barangay ng isa, party A, sa barangay ng isa, sa party B. So, paunahan na lang po silang mag-file ng reklamo. How about pagka halimbawa real property kagaya kanina land dispute, 'di ba? Ang titingnan natin is kung saan ba nakalocate. Kung saan saang barangay nakakasakop yung yung land, yun po yung mag-a-undergo ng settlement. Pero nakadepende yan sa portion. What if mas malaki yung portion ng kaliwa? Edi doon sila matasakop. Pagka pantay, kahit saan pwede upon the raise of the complaint again. Kung saan unang may makakapag-reklamo. And then what if naman sa workplace? Sa barangay na nakakasakop dun sa may pinagtatrabahuhan ng tao. Okay, nila. Okay, operational procedure. First is hostage situation. Ano bang hostage situation? Kapag merong one or more individuals are held captive for what? Because of what? Because the offender or the captor has things to be demanded. So, meron siyang gustong makuha. And then yung hinostage is, hinostage sila against their will. Hindi pa pwede na voluntarily, oh, sige sir, total good, parang gusto mo yung, makuha mo yung gusto mo, sama ko sa'yo. Gamitin mo akong pamamaraan para makuha mo yung gusto mo. Hindi pa po ba pwede yun, ha? Dapat, pag sinabi natin hostage situation, a person is being held captive against his or her will. Na ang purpose ng captor ay may makuha siya or may ma-demand siya doon sa mga makikipag-negotiate sa kanya. Okay, ano ba yung mga dapat natin tandaan sa hostage situation? The syndrome o yung mga nagiging psychological impact doon sa mga taong involved. Pag sinabi natin Stockholm Syndrome, ang pinaka-affected dito is yung victim. Bakit? Yung victim po nagiging or nagkakaroon, nagbi-build ng magandang impression doon sa may captor. Kumbaga nahuhulog yung loob niya, naintindihan niya, naawa siya, naging empath na siya doon. O ano mangyayari? Baka magkaroon pa ngayon ng instance na kung saan imbis matakot siya, magiging cooperative na siya dun sa may captor. O sige, para bigyan ka ng ganung kahalaga, gamitin mo ko, tutukan mo ko ng baril sa leeg, sa ulo, sa mata. Tingnan na natin kung di sila sumunod. O magiging problematic yan sa end ng mga law enforcement agencies, especially ng negotiator. Why? Kasi what if gusto na sumurrender ng captor, pero since naaawa pa yung hostage, o siya pa ngayon yung nag-a-advise dun sa may captor na wag muna, hindi pa nila binibigay yung gusto mo. So, yun ang nangyayari sa Stockholm Syndrome. So, ang unang nakaka-develop dito ng positive feelings, empathy is yung hostage, yung biktima. And then we also have here the Lima Syndrome. Sa Lima Syndrome naman po, kabaliktaran. Ang nagkakaroon ng psychological response or positive approach is yung captor. Yung captor ngayon, gumagaan yung loob niya sa kanyang biktima. Actually, ito, maganda to kasi there's a high tendency na pakawalan niya o maawa na siya dun sa may biktima niya, pakawalan na niya, palayain na niya. No? Opposite siya ng Stockholm Syndrome. Kung si Stockholm, biktima ang naawa, si Lima, ang lumambot ay si captor. And then, para naman po sa London Syndrome, ito yung medyo negative. Bakit? Kasi po, sa London Syndrome, imbis na magkahulugan sila ng loob, magkaintindihan sila, ito ngayong si victim or si hostage, kung tawagin natin, hindi siya ngayon nakikinig, hindi siya nagpa-participate kay captor. Ano mangyayari kapag gano'n? Mas matitrigger ngayon si captor, magiging aggressive, mas magiging chaotic ngayon yung situation. Okay, pag London, ang hindi participative is yung ating victim. So, magiging reason yun kung bakit lalong manggigigil, magagalit hostage taker. Okay, when it comes to hostage situation, what is negotiable and non-negotiable? O, negotiable, those are the things na hindi naman harmful. Hindi siya pwedeng maging reason para mas lumala pa yung situation. We have money, food, drinks, and transportation. Kasi yun, pwede ka pang balitaktakan sa kanya na, gusto ko ng aeroplano, pwede bang kotse na lang, sasakyan na lang, saan ka ba pupunta? O, madali siyang i-mitigate, di ba? Pero pagka non-negotiable, ito yung mga weapons and ammunitions, but hindi mo siya pwedeng sabi niya gano'n, pengi ako ng pengi ako ng shotgun. Ay, hindi mo puwede sabihin, puwede bang ano na lang, caliber ano na lang, puwede ba 9mm na lang para malaki kasi shotgun, hindi mo puwedeng i-negotiate sa kanya 'yun na para lang mapalubag yung loob niya, 'no? At all times, non-negotiable ang weapon and ammunition kasi mas magagamit pa siya sa mas malalang execution nung krimen. How about when we say bomb threat? Bomb threat is a warning or claiming the presence of one or more bombs. Ngayon, ano ba kasi mga reason kung bakit may mga taong nagpapakalat ng mga bomb threat? First is, totoo naman talaga na meron siyang definitive knowledge na kung saan meron talagang bomba. Pangalawa, ito yung common na kung saan the person wants to create an atmosphere of panic and anxiety. Gusto niyang matakot yung mga tao, magkagulo, at makita niya na talagang very threatened yung mga tao na kung ano yung mangyayari sa kanila. And then yung pangatlo naman, minsan, ito yung reason, no, kung bakit minsan, pero mas madalas pa rin yung number 2 na panic and anxiety ang gustong instill sa mind ng mga nagpapakalat ng bomb threat. Yung pangatlo is they wanted to bring or amplify lack of confidence sa mga leader. Tignan niyo natin kung kaya niyang i-handle yung stress sa yung stress sa pag-handle ng ganitong klaseng situation ng bomb threat. Tignan nga natin kung hindi siya mabaliw sa mga dami na reklamo ng mga residente. Yung mga ganong klaseng senaryo kung bakit ginagawa yung bomb threat. Ayaw nila dun sa may leader, ayaw nila dun sa may mga nakaupo. Ang gagawin nila, itetest nila ngayon sa mamamagitan ng mga ganitong incident. Next, when we say domestic disturbance naman, ito yung mga nagsisimula sa mga simpleng sigawan, hiyawan, pagtatalo na later on, nagko-cause din siya ng disturbance o ng gulo sa ibang tao. Pero usually, it can be observed within the household. Pag sinabi natin household, sa bahay, sa pamilya, o commonly sa mga mag-asawa, di ba? O, gabi ka na umuwi. Kanina pa tayo naantay. Anong oras na? Gising ka pa. Anong oras na wala ka pa? O, mga ganyan hanggang sa gaganti yung isa, may mananakit, and then may mga tutulong, madadamay, may masasaktan din. O, dun lumalala. O, di ba, sa halimbawa, may tambay, lasing, o dumaan, naghamon. Sino dito matapang? Sinasabi sa inyo, sino? O, sa simpleng pagtatanong, sa simpleng pag-aamok, o, lumabas lahat ng matapang, lahat ng mga siga doon sa barangay nila. Ano nangyari? Naging riot, naging magulo. That is domestic disturbance. Okay, next, critical incident management. So, ano ba pinagkaiba ng emergency sa crisis? Okay, dun muna tayo sa may epekto niya, no? Pagka-emergency, it poses a serious immediate risk to health, life, or property. Pag hindi agad siya nabigyan ng attention, it may result to death. Oras ang kalaban natin when it comes to emergency. Pero pagdating naman sa crisis, yung seriousness, it leads to unstable or crucial time na kung saan, when we say crisis, it is something na unexpected or parang somewhat considered as impossible na mangyari, pero nangyari. So, serious siya. Why? There are crises na hindi pa napaghahandaan o never naisip na mangyayari. So, pag pinag-compare natin yung dalawa, emergency, sinabing emergency kaya nire-require niya ng maigsing panahon na mabigyang attention kasi meron ng kayang gawin para ma-ensure na hindi lalala yung situation. Pero sa crisis kasi, it will take time to find solution doon sa nararanasan ngayon na problem. Okay, crisis management. Bakit ba tayo may crisis management? Ang purpose nito is to employ strategies and make sure that the crisis or the incident, kung ano may nangyayari, will be handled with care or will be handled na strategically na hindi magiging malaki yung impact, hindi magiging malaki yung mawawala. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng crisis management. At sa crisis management po, hindi natin ito ginagawa kung kailan meron ng crisis. No? Ang advisable is ahead of time. Kaya nga sa crisis management, merong prediction. Ahead of time, i-anticipate mo na ano yung mga potential or type of crisis na pwedeng ma-experience within your society, community, country, company. Okay, yun po ang purpose ng crisis management para if in case dumating man yung araw na maranasan mo siya, kaya mo siyang i-handle. And then next phases of crisis management, we have two, no? We have two direct phases, the proactive and then the reactive. And then, under sa dalawa na yon, meron tayong 4 P's na crisis management model naman po ang tawag. Pero pag phases ang pinag-uusapan natin, dalawa lang, proactive and reactive. So, meron tayong tatlo sa proactive. The first one is prediction. So, pag sinabi natin prediction, ang purpose dito is to foretell. Foretell or assume, we need to assume, we need to foretell, or kailangan nating mag-assess what will be the possible potential losses. Okay, what will be the possible potential danger na may experience during the time of crisis? Ano yung mga uri ng crisis na pwedeng ma-encounter? Excuse me? And then number 2, prevention. Kapag identified na yung mga potential crisis na pwedeng ma-experience, sa prevention, gagamit tayo ngayon ng mga passive and active security measures. And then the third one, the last model na under ng proactive phase is that it includes the planning, organization, training, and stockpiling. So dito mas marami na nangyayari, planning, coordinating, na kung saan kailangan much prepared kasi ang next na mangyayari dito after ng preparation, kasi sa preparation kasama even yung drills, simulations, yan kasama po yan. After nyan, ang aantayin na lang o ang magiging assessment period niya during the time of performance. Ano ba yung performance? Under siya ng reactive phase. Sa reactive phase, dito nangyayari yung actual or the excuse me, actual execution or implementation ng lahat ng planning na ginawa in the crisis management. Okay, pagka naman disaster management na pinag-uusapan natin, the purpose there is to avoid the losses from hazard. So, para alam naman natin na pag disaster ang pinag-uusapan, malawak, malaki, marami ang nagiging impact niyan. So, the purpose of disaster management is to ensure na hindi ganun kalaki yung magiging suffering or kailangan gawing recovery after maranasan yung disaster. First na ginagawa natin sa disaster management cycle is the mitigation. Wala pa man din yung bagyo, wala pa man din lindol, wala pa man din nangyayaring dilubyo, we are already trying to minimize the effects of disaster. So by means of building codes and zoning, vulnerability analysis, and public education. So kasama dyan, for example, sa Nueva Ecija, alin ba dito ang pinaka-prone sa lindol? Ano ba ang pinaka-prone sa landslide? Ano ba pinaka-prone sa may flood? Kasama po yun sa may process ng mitigation. And we also have the preparedness, the planning how to respond. So it includes planning again, training, and warning system. So yun ang similar when it comes to crisis management and disaster management. Hindi nawawala yung planning. And then, the third part of the cycle is response. Pag sinabing response, ito yung actual. Katumbas naman to ng performance sa may crisis management. Dito ang tawag response, na kung saan ginagawa siya during the time na talagang nangyayari na yung disaster. So it may include search and rescue and emergency relief. And then the last part of the disaster management cycle is recovery, returning the community to normal, na kung saan it involves also yung temporary housing, grants, medical care, may mga hanap buhay support, or may mga financial aids na binibigay para ang goal natin dito is somewhat makabawi, makabangon man lang doon sa naging aftermath ng disaster. Okay, so that is the end of our crash course. Thank you so much everyone for staying from the beginning up to the end. So, 4 na subject na tapos na natin. Sana po nakuha niyo yung mga pointers to review, especially kasi although yung mga nasa TOS ay napasadahan naman talaga natin, yun dun kayo mag-focus sa mga laman ng PPT natin na pagre-review. And I can assure you na hindi man ganun, hindi nyo mape-perfect yung criminology, at least you will be able to answer with confidence, no? May tanong lang ako sa inyo. So, alam mo ba na ikaw na ang susunod na papasa sa POA? Kita mo, binisita pa kayo ng special natin, special artist natin. 'Di ba? Hi, this is Lars. Parang namamaga si Lance dito. Parang hindi science ang tinuturo niya, parang food and health benefits. Okay guys, we are really praying and hoping na this time, para sa mga second taker natin, you will be able to surpass and conquer the program's outcome audit. And for the first timer na mga ngayon na nag-take ng POA, we are praying and genuinely hoping for everyone na this will be your one take POA. No, sabay-sabay po kayong makapasa. Pagbutihan po ang pagre-review. You still have until tonight para mag-prepare. And wag po tayong gagawa ng mga bagay na ikakapahamak natin dahil ito na, nasa dulo na kayo ng POA. Wag sanang kung kailan nasa dulo, tsaka pa kayo mapapatid. So, hopefully, makapasa lahat kasi alam ko naging challenge sa inyo yung P1 exam ng criminology. So, kaya ngayon talaga, pinuspos natin na mas madami tayong matarget ng crash course. And iwan ko lang to sa inyo, no, na isa sa mga actually favorite Bible verse to the Sir LR. Commit your work to the Lord and your plans will be established. Proverbs 16, 3. So lahat ng ginagawa natin, ialay natin kay Lord, no? Humingi tayo ng guidance, ng blessings, and magugulat na lang tayo later or sooner, maganda na yung nagiging resulta. Umaayon na sa plano at the same time, binabless tayo lalo. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for attending yung PPT and then recording. I will be asking